So our service project was with the Better Boys Foundation, and it is located 1512 South Pulaski in the Lawndale community. A little bit of history, the foundation was founded by Joseph Kelman in the 1960s. It started off as Archie Moore's boxing gym, which was just a boxing club for boys as an after-school program. And then later, after Mr. Kelman realized that just boxing alone was not going to change the direction of a young person's life, he decided to quickly change it to the Better Boys Foundation, and it became more of a youth development center with multiple programs. Mr. Kelman, he quickly gained trust within the community, so he was elected president of the Greater North Lawndale Conservation Commission. And through this position, it allowed him to make really huge connections with local businesses and allowed him to get major funding for the Better Boys Foundation. He showed his commitment to the community and received many awards through his positions in his work with Better Boys Foundation. And obviously, the Better Boys Foundation today is still alive and well today, and it continues with youth development, but has also recently changed its name once again and added on family services. So it's now the Better Boys Foundation and Family Services. Just speaks to more relevant programs that they provide now, not only for youth, but for families throughout the Lawndale community. And they actually go as far as not only just education or employment, but health and wellness, community engagement, and of course family services. So next we're just going to give you a little overview of BBF today. They obviously have a wide range of programs like I spoke about already. Two main programs that we like to highlight just because we had the most contact and involvement with these programs are definitely the education and the health and wellness program. The education program is ran by Samantha Fryer, who provides a great network of resources for the students at BBF. She's a one-woman team, I should say, and is the best person for the job. She ensures that the children at BBF, the youth and the adults, are empowered to graduate or to get a GED or high school diploma. She comes up with programs that provide academic assistance, scholarships, college readiness programs, ACT prep, college visit days. I mean, the list just goes on and on of everything that she provides these students with. And they are all free services, so none of these students or adults have to pay for any of these services. It's just an amazing opportunity for the community of Lawndale. And then along with that, the health and wellness program is run by another one-woman team by Dr. Adrienne Faulkner, and she also has many programs in place to speak to the not only the trauma or the traditional counseling ways, I guess you could say, or methods, but she also sets up nutrition and health workshops so people learn how to eat more healthy, and she even has dance classes so that she promotes physical activity. So obviously those are huge things within a community that sees violence and whatnot. And besides education and the health and wellness, they also have programs for employment, community engagement, and youth. They have youth lab, that's for the younger kids, not only teens. And they even have some things for senior citizens. So now we're going to go into the ecological framework that we laid out for the BBF family.
Okay, so this is like a little chart of our factors contributing to violence. Branching off, what we focused on here was poverty, criminal justice system, trauma, and I can't read that. What's that one? Oh, substance abuse, yeah. And then off of that are branches that kind of relate to each other.
Our
transiency and incarceration,
anxiety and unpredictability, childhood trauma, high emotional stress, money, power, addiction, and mental illness.
So all of this really goes hand in hand to just kind of keep the structural violence like perpetuated throughout time, and it's something that they're struggling with and that we noticed. So, so first, the criminal justice system. North Orlando is one of the most violent cities in the U.S. And there are a lot of different contributing factors to that. A large part of it, because the neighborhood is like 92% African American, they really bear the brunt of racially biased flaws in the criminal justice system, and we see that on a daily basis at BDF, just through talks with the kids and adults and other people who have experienced things. And the next is poverty, which really goes hand in hand with the criminal justice system because 70% of men between the ages of 18 and 45 have a criminal record in the neighborhood, which makes it very, very hard for employment, as we know. It's hard to get work after you have been convicted, which just paves the way for more poverty, and actually almost 39% of the households are below the poverty level there, compared to 18.7% of the greater Chicago area. Substance abuse is also a problem that can go in with criminal justice system, like alcoholism. A lot of cases of domestic violence and stuff kind of come from that. And also when this community is not given the mental health resources that they need, a lot of times that will mix with substance abuse and
it's just a chain reaction of events that happens throughout this community that kind of keeps them in their place, I would say, within this structural violence that's going on throughout the city of Chicago. And it really saddens us to see that when we would go there, you just hear the stories that these children are talking about, or these people who are trying to get their GEDs after being incarcerated or whatnot. And it's just really sad to hear that these kids are going through this at such a young age. And it really does start young, and not a lot of people think that it does, I guess, looking up from the outside in, but it really does start young, and it really takes a toll on the community as a whole when things are going so crazy and down spiraling as they are, and so much violence is going on, not just crime, but just mental violence, structural violence. I mean, everything we talked about in class really applies to these communities, and it really sucks. You don't want to hear that about any community.
Yeah, and along with that, the last big contributing factor we talked about was trauma. Because of the situation of these at-risk youth, they witness a lot of things that no child should witness, and that can have such a big impact on them in those very formative years. Whether it be acting out in school or just
lacking confidence. We see that a lot, lacking confidence, and that comes from a place, whether it be going through trauma or just always being told that they're not good enough or not having the same resources as others, just automatically makes them think that they're lower than the rest of the people in this city, and it's really sad to even think that way, but it really affects their confidence, and that's something so big in a child's life is confidence, and having the confidence to do good, to be better, to achieve good grades in school. I mean, we heard it after tutoring not only youth but teens. They would say, I can't do it, or I don't know how, or they would just shut down and not have an answer and not make eye contact. And those are all really early signs of a lack of confidence. And it can just spiral from there as they get older, and it's just not fair.
Yeah, also, like, school truancy kind of links with that. Like, a lot of kids won't be able to make it to school, whether it just be transportation issues or they just don't care. I know we talked to a couple teens who were like, what's the point of high school? I want to drop out because it's not teaching me anything that's valuable in my life now that I need. It's not teaching me how to survive in this climate. Like, so that comes along with the trauma.
Whereas school doesn't teach them these things, but they come to BBF because BBF helps them with these things. BBF teaches them how to deal with, things that are going on in their community, how to gain confidence, how to get through their homework, how to stay out of trouble, and it guides them in a way that their school or the CPS system or things like that doesn't do that. They need a different kind of leader, and BBF is that for them. And that's an amazing opportunity that these kids are getting through this program and everything that they offer. So next we're going into the sustainable nonviolent methods that we found at our organization.
Okay, so the first, probably like the biggest one when it comes to nonviolent action is the Empowering Heroes Mentoring Program.
Yeah, that's huge.
It pairs kids between the ages of 13 and 24 with a mentor that they have one-on-one conversations with. And is it weekly? I think it depends.
I think it's based on their need for it. I know they do kind of like a sign-up process, and based on the child, either what the child wants or the teen wants, or based on, what they feel the teen needs. I think it's kind of like an in-between of that, but I think it's something like weekly or bi-weekly, depending.
So the kids get this chance to work with someone one-on-one, and a lot of them haven't had that opportunity to really like sit down and talk about whatever is bothering them, because they're just told to bottle it up, like everybody has their own problems, don't pay attention to it. So it's really powerful and empowering too, because all of the mentors actually were born and raised in North Lawndale, so they have been through the same struggles, and I think that just really like knits them really close together.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when people go through the same experience, they have a connection like no other. And I think for these kids, those mentors are just, almost everything to them, because the mentors guide them in a way that nobody else really can, because nobody else really knows what they go through besides the people in that community.
All right, so the next thing that they do a lot with is Kid Lab and Youth Lab, which are the same thing, kind of just different ages. Kid Lab is from ages 5 to 12, and Youth Lab from 13 to 18. This is tutoring and a lot of support in a variety of ways, and it also gives a lot of opportunities for these kids to be creative and to utilize these resources that they have never got a chance to experience. Like these programs include like art lab, beat lab, bike lab, film lab, garden lab, knit lab, and tab lab. So there are a lot of activities that kind of foster that creativity that can sometimes be kind of squished from the structural violence in the neighborhood.
And it also goes back to what I was talking about in their high schools. Like, not many high schools in this area provide those types of creative activities because they don't have the funding for them, or they're just so overcrowded that they can't provide those types of creative activities to so many children. So that's just another thing that BBF has to offer them, that not only their schools can't offer them, their environment that they're in can't offer them, but BBF can, and they are offering them that. And I think the children notice that, and along with the mentors are able to guide them and say, hey, why don't you try out this new activity that you never were exposed to before? And it's just like a new route of, getting their mind off of, what's going on at home or the trauma they're going through and things like that. Like, it's just another outlet for them. which is amazing that BBF provides that for them, and it's all free once again. So
Yeah.
their families don't have to pay for it, or they don't have to pay for it. It's just it's given to them, and it's an opportunity like right at their fingertips that they are given. And it's just amazing to work with them through that.
And all of that equipment, like this is the Beat Lab, that picture right there. Like it's state of the art, like really nice technology. That I haven't even had a chance to.
Yeah, it's like Apple products. They have like a lot of like professional cameras in their like video lab. Their dancing room, they have like a full tap floor. They have tap shoes.
They do ballet.
They do ballet too. Like, and it's covered in mirrors. They also do like knitting classes and stuff. I don't know if that's opportunities. I think it is. But they have a full room for that, and they're yarn everywhere, and it's just like crazy to see all these really cool labs that they have going on for these kids that aren't like in high school. They get a torn up book. Like, how does that show them that the school actually cares for them? Whereas BVF provides stuff and that's state of the art. That's just like everybody else. It doesn't show them that they're any less or any more of anybody else. It shows them that they're equals, which I think is something that's important too. It takes away that structural violence that we were talking about. They kind of even the playing field, which is amazing.
The next program we talked about was health and wellness. North Lawndale is located in a food desert, so it's very hard for them to get fresh, healthy produce. It's a lot of like corner stores and 7-Eleven and that kind of stuff, so they don't have the resources to be like, to have a healthy diet. So that's something that BVF tries to help them with, which is nice for like especially low-income families who don't always have the time or the money to travel. Because what did she say? It's like a couple.
It's like an hour. It's like a whole other town away to actually get to
a park.
Yeah, a grocery store that provides fresh produce and things of that sort. Like they don't have a Jewel anywhere by. It's just literally corner stores and fast food restaurants, and that's what's so great about BVF because they actually provide like. They get a company to come in with fresh produce that sells it for a more reasonable price for the community, and that's like a huge outlet for them to start eating more healthy, which is really cool.
I was actually, last time we were there, sat in on a little like health class for kids as far as like healthy eating, and they were very engaged. Like they raised their hand, they had a lot of questions. When like diabetes was brought up, they're like, oh, my dad has diabetes, or like it seemed like a very common thing for them. And then for them to learn that oftentimes that can be avoided just through diet, they really became interested in like what's healthy, like what to eat and what to eat in moderation and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see that.
They also provide like just a workshop for like adults and like fathers and parents and things like that, so they also know, how to portion their food to make it more healthy, or to substitute something in instead of eating, the fast food, things like that, and that is just an amazing outlet because they don't have that opportunity or access to the fresh produce. So what can they do with what they have around them is something that is vital to learn, and that's something another thing that BVF provides them to get rid of that structural violence that's going on. And it's just, like I said, amazing, and it's so important to them.
And along with the health and wellness, they do a lot with mental health services too, which kind of fits in here with counseling and like trauma groups, and they do a whole bunch of stuff like that too for these kids to be able to unpack things they have experienced
and just vent with other kids that are going through the same thing or one-on-ones. They don't have that outlet at home or at school and things like that. They just bottle it up, and that's not good for anybody, let alone a child at the age of 7 or 10 or 12 or whatever it may be. Nobody should have to just bottle up their feelings. They should have somebody to vent to and advice for them?
And the last one we were talking about is education. A lack of education is a contributing factor to violence for like various reasons. But BBF offers like a whole like broad range of education programs. They do GED classes, like ACT prep, college campus visits, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like they arrange visits for these kids to go like, they're talking about going to like California.
Yeah, it's not only like within the Chicagoland area, they travel out of state and they provide, and again, it's free for these kids. They provide, all the transportation, all the living, like the, living expenses if they do go out of state, things like that, and it's all free for these kids. I mean, I don't even remember me going to a campus visit for free. And that's just amazing that they get those opportunities that nobody else is providing them. Nobody at their high school is providing them with campus visits for free. Nobody is saying, hey, are you even going to college? Nobody even asks them maybe if they are even going to college. People just think, oh, they have bad grades, they don't even want to go to college. They automatically X them out of these chances. That's so unfair. You don't even know the person, but they're automatically X'd out due to this structural violence, but BBF provides them with those. And along with that, I know I worked on a little project helping individual students, creating a list of scholarships that they can apply for. An individual list, so for each student I provided a list of scholarships. And if I wasn't there, Miss Samantha, the education manager at BBF, she would do that on her own, getting each child a list of individual scholarships and emailing it to them, saying, here, apply for these. Like, the care that they have for their kids is just remarkable. Like, it's unbelievable. And after being there, we felt it too. Like, we wanted to be there more, and we still want to visit to this day. Even after the end of our service, we still want to go back.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of kids, like, they're realizing that education is a tool with which they can kind of decide their own life. Like, they're not given a lot of choices, but it's nice because I think BBF really, like, inspires kids.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They definitely do inspire a lot of kids. And not only kids, they inspire other families, other adults, the parents of these kids. I mean, they go through so much on a daily basis that the best thing that can happen to them is their kid coming home talking about all these things that they did at BBF, or the outlet that they have for their kids at BBF, which, I mean, I think it's amazing, and I know their parents appreciated it, so does the community. The last thing we're going to kind of just go over briefly, because it's kind of repetitive, was our group reflection that we did. We just took out some highlights, like just some main points that we thought you can bring up. So the first thing was the Lawndale community itself and what it's viewed as. It's viewed as really poor after doing through research. Not many people come to Chicago saying they want to visit the Lawndale community because, quite frankly, people call it ghetto, which automatically is structural violence right there. Labeling any community as ghetto is completely out of line, especially if you've never even visited that community, but you hear that it's ghetto, and of course nobody's going to want to go there. And that's just a label that shouldn't be put on any community at all, without knowing the history and why it is the way it is. So that's basically what the Lawndale community is viewed as, but obviously we know it's not that way just because of the people that are there. It's due to all that violence that they feel throughout the community. And then our next point is...
So we were talking about like the 3 different kinds of violence, and like in the paper we go into each of them a little more in depth. But like they face political violence every day. I mean, we all know what's going on with like the CPD or just like the whole police brutality thing. Their lives become very political without their choice. Everything they do is seen in a different light and has different connotations just because of the color of their skin. And physical violence, I mean, we know about shootings and
yeah, I mean that's
gang violence.
Yeah, that's basically all we hear when we hear about the Lawndale community on our local news is the crime, the shootings, the killings, and blah 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 blah. I mean the list goes on and on and on, and it's sad because that's not the only thing that's going on in those communities. People are actually trying to live and get out of those communities. It's not just people, passing away or gang members, having fight. I mean, it's ridiculous that we only hear about the physical violence and not about all this other violence that's going on in this community. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, there's crime everywhere, not only in Lawndale community, but we only hear about the physical gang violence in this community, and it's sad. It shouldn't be happening.
And I mean, that's really linked with emotional and behavioral violence to both of these because it does have an impact on your emotions and on your cognitive thinking and processing.
I mean, if you watch the news and all you hear about your community and about your neighbors is that we're shooting each other and that, it's just a bad place to be in and blah, 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 I mean, I would think of a little bit down about myself too because that's my neighborhood and that's where I come from. And, you feel almost ashamed to even say where you're from or go outside of your neighborhood because you're seen as violent or, you're linked with all these bad, portraits of, how your community is, and if you're from there, you're that way. Not everybody from there is partaking in this physical violence. There's actually some people there trying to, have a life and get a career just like everybody else in Chicago. It's not just the physical violence. And BBF does a great job of taking all of that into account and fostering these kids into, becoming more confident with themselves and continuing with their education and being it's okay, let's move on from it. It's crazy.
And also kind of linked to that is the different levels in which we see violence. Personal violence, interpersonal, institutional, cultural, and societal. At each kind of step, it just becomes a bigger and bigger problem, like a wicked problem that's hard to solve, kind of.
It's just a chain reaction too. Once it starts, it's just bam, 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 bam. It basically goes down the line and hits all of those, and it sucks once you start that chain reaction because, like we said, it's really hard to stop and get out of. So we talked a little about that in our paper, and then as we went through in the beginning, we talked about the BBF programs and how BBF is just a really a safe space and a place for these kids in the community to grow out of just that physical violence that portrays them on the news or on the internet or things like that. They have peace circles, they have health and wellness workshops, like we said, the mentors, the trauma counseling, the youth labs. I mean, with all of that together, they're just so helpful to this community and provide so much. And it's just I know the kids there, and not only the kids but the staff there, they really want to help these children. They really care. They go out of their way every day. Most of them, this is a second job. This isn't their full-time job. They have jobs outside of this job, and they do it just because they've been through what they've been through, or they, have a place in their heart for not being portrayed as something so, physically violent, or, they understand, and BBF is just so amazing. And hopefully we get the chance to go back, because we really loved it there. So, that's it. Thank you. That's just our resources page, but